When I was in the world, I had niggas flipping over benches. These little bullets had big niggas running like bitches. Now I'm in the truth. I see my mindset wasn't any different from the white man doing the whipping. I was really slipping, cutting crack, rock with precision. Young nigga getting money, shoot your block up just for the image. Peer pressure, my heart got cold and timid. This what happens when you see your best friend's brains get blown out on the line of scrimmage. All this violence got me full with vengeance. Things setting my life up for a big time Armageddon sentence. Say they trying to kill me with a big butt vixen. Say it's time for repentance. The shoes that I was trying to fit and didn't fit, so I took the more time for a new transition, a new life. I'm stand on. This is my position. I told myself when I wrote this, somebody gonna listen and watch this song. Help that person through their struggles and oppositions. These niggas wanna defund the police. I gotta defund the kitchen. No more crack dealers, 011 hustlers, dope pushers, no more coke smugglers, weed handlers, methadone customers. Nigga, you can feel it in your jugular. Pain to a killer. No money to spiller. It gets no realer than this right now. I'm a scripture puller. I'll push your shit back with a scripture, nigga. I push your shit back with a scripture, nigga. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. What? Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. What? Fast life and fast cars. They don't know who you are, man. Fast life and fast cars. They just want cool. Fast life and fast cars. Material king don't mean fast, man. Fast cars. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. What? Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. Fast life and fast cars. When it's all gone, they don't know who you are. It's for the Lord. It's for the Lord. Pay your tithes when you get your money. 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 Now, chance of that, man, Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings. Abraham gave 10th of all his things. When a Christian rob God, that's a Christian robbing me. But you want to say how does a Christian rob thee? Money. That pastor is robbing me. Money. The Christian pastor is robbing me. Bring me your tithes inside the storehouse, so it could be me in every UPK house. I, as you became the stone, Commander J, I am the pillar for the Lord's house. If you don't know the Bible, you won't understand what I'm talking about. And that right there might be bad for you. But listen, this is something he can do. Honor the Lord with substance and give him your first fruits. Give and watch it come right back to you. And do it to the ending. And this truth, cause nobody is saved till Christ come back to pass the lie about you being saved just to get that stat. Evil ass pastor. That's what he's for, the money. You understand? Come on, let's get it. Pay your tithes when you get your money. Pay your tithes when you get your money. What? Pay your tithes when you get your money. Pay your tithes when you get your money. Money. Pay your tithes when you get your money. Money. Pay your tithes when you get your money. 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 Pay your tithes when you get your money.
Clap it up, 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 clap it up. We are the Isupk, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out 1 West Harlem, New York, 125th Street. We are now under Commandant Jan Yohana. We've been in these streets since 1969, teaching our people that we are the true Jews of the Bible, man. Yes, us, the blacks, so-called Hispanics, and natives, we are the true Jews of the Bible, man. I know there's a race of people that's going around saying they are Jews, right? Shalom to Ms. Jones, right? I know there's a race of people saying they are Jews, but are not, which is my favorite scripture, right? So we're going to go into Revelation, right? And we're going to read this scripture real quick, right? Revelation 2 and 9, right? It says, I know thy works and tribulations and poverty. So he know the works, the tribulations, and poverty. That's what we are going through, right? But thou art rich. Why would it says, I know thy works, tribulations, and poverty, but thou art rich, right? You know why it says thou art rich? Because as a Israelite, a so-called, actually not a so-called, being a Jew, Yahweh, right? You are only guaranteed the kingdom. Only your race of people could get the kingdom. That's why you are rich, right? And it says, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews. Now, there's only one race of people walking around with these big, long black coats with these goddamn babushka hats on, right? And they say they are Jews, right? And of course, we are the chosen people, right? That's why we are rich, right, Ms. Jones, right? They walking around with these big, long babushka hats on. I wonder what's inside the hats, right? You ever thought about what's inside that long Jewish man babushka hat? Think about that. What's in them hats, right? And it says, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. What race of people worship in a synagogue? My family was so-called religious people. I'd never not seen them. I never seen them in the synagogue. I seen them in the Christian church and the Muslim mosque, but I never seen them in the synagogue. So it can't be my family. And when I say family, I'm talking about all of us, right? There's only one race of people that's in the synagogue, right? So we got that, right? Now we're going to go to Revelation 3, right? Because there are scriptures that let you know that the Lord is against a certain people, right? So we're going to go to Revelation 3 now, right? This is Revelation 3 and 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue. There go that word synagogue again. There go the word synagogue. My black family do not worship in the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews. So these people that worshiping in the synagogue, right? I will make them the synagogue of Satan. I will make them of the house of the evildoers, right? And it's funny, we're going to get into this, right? Because this class is called We Know the Crimes of the Slave Masters, man. Part 7, Isupk Brooklyn, the greatest news channel ever, right? And it says, Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So when it comes down to the get down, these race of people that say they are Jews, who are the evildoers, the Lord gonna make them worship thy feet. That sounds beautiful to me. What about you? Or do you got that Christian spirit? Love everybody that beat your ass. Well, I got that ISUPK spirit. You understand? I got the spirit of the Most High in Christ, right? I'm going to go to one more scripture, right? One more. Let's get this. Hold on for 1 minute. I didn't even put this in the notes, but we're going to get it anyway, right? This is Isaiah 29 and 22, right? It said, therefore thus said the Lord, who redeemed Abraham, concerning the house of Jacob. Jacob shall not be ashamed. So every black man and woman ain't going to be ashamed. You ain't going to be trying to wear eyelashes. You ain't going to be trying to look like the white woman with blonde hair. Right? You're not going to be ashamed of your people, man. Right? Neither shall wax pale. Wax pale. I remember the Indians, the tribe of Gad, they used to call Esau paleface. So if he calling Esau paleface and Esau faces pale, it have to be talking about the Caucasian man. So a Jew ain't going to be white. Do you understand what's going on? I'm letting you see in the scriptures that you cannot be a white man and be a Jew. Right? So let's get to this. Because today's class is We Know the Crimes of the Slave Masters, Isupk Brooklyn, Part 7. And I'd like to give a shout out to the big homie, Haza'al, for creating Isupk Brooklyn under Commandant Jen Yohana, man. Clap it up for that man. Right? So we're going to go to this first story. It's about our mayor, Mr. Eric Adams. Right? Look what he's talking about. Eric Adams. Eric Adams promises to zero in on hate crimes in the Orthodox briefing. Remember that last time I said Orthodox? It always ties in with Jewish people. That word Orthodox always ties in with Jewish people, right? New York City Mayor Eric Adams told Orthodox news outlets that he is facing a real battle against the media he accused of selling hysterics about rising crime, as well as leftist lawmakers pushing for police reform and racial justice, and promise to turn the corner on gun violence and other crimes. We still have some work to do around public safety, Adams told a group of journalists at City Hall on Monday and briefing ahead of the Jewish high holidays. We are going to zero in on the hate crimes. The New York City Police Department, time out, he's worrying about hate crimes against the Jewish community. What about the hate crimes to the black man that his own police department do? He ain't zero in on that. He ain't zero in on his police department putting their necks and feet on top of our heads. Putting their feet on our heads, I mean. He ain't worried about that though, right? The New York Police Department recently reported a rise in anti-Jewish crimes this year with a total of 577 incidents, including 24 reported on August, more than double the number in a month in 2021. Most of these incidents are vandalism, but Adams he said most of these incidents are vandalism. But Adam was speaking after a video of 2 physical assaults on visible Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn in recent days garnered attention. So, like, one crime, right? One crime to the Jewish man now gets total exposure. Now you want the whole police department to get down and save these guys, right? When there's black people getting murdered by other race of people every day and every night and every morning, and you don't got the police department zeroing in on that, right? Physical assaults on visible Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn in recent days garnered attention on social media. The Anti-Defamation League reported that there were 416 reported incidents of the anti-Semitism in New York last year, the most in the nation, right? We're going to stop. Wait, hold on. Let me read one more paragraph, right? Even as he promised to do more to stop hate crimes, Adams put the blame on state lawmakers, saying they should stop making these laws that are allowing dangerous people to continue to do dangerous things in our city. He referred to the 2009 bail reform law, which eliminates the need for cash bail for those accused of committing misdemeanors and felonies. The law was tweaked earlier this year to exclude nonviolent hate crimes, right? Let me see. I'm going to stop right there, right? Check this out. So he's saying it's a rise on Jewish people, hate crimes on Jewish people. But check this, what I'm about to read, right? Look at this, what I'm about to read. Check this out, y'all. Let me put this up a little. It says, criminology amongst Jews. Woo! We about to go in right now. Mayor Eric Adams wants to put more policing for the Jewish man because of 2 crimes that happened of Jewish people probably getting beat up or they things or the building getting vandalized. Whatever happened, it was 2 people, and Mayor Eric Adams, 2 people, I think this week, a crime happened to a Jewish man, and Mayor Eric Adams wants the police department in the world to focus on these hate crimes, right? But what about these hate crimes I'm about to read, right? This paper is a critique of certain studies wholly and partially devoted to examine criminology amongst Jews, although the emphasis on American studies include also are the major European English language studies, which proceed and in some cases serve as a bias for the American studies, right? The first section consists of evaluation of all the American studies, which emphasize on the methodological problems, the second section comprises an intensive analysis of the most substantial studies in the final section, right? Those factors which are normally identified as causes of Jewish criminality will be examined, right? The conclusion of most studies is that Jews have a low crime. So you would think Jewish people ain't committing no crimes, because every time you come outside, you just see them walking and whatever, buying buildings. You think there ain't no crime going on, right? It said the conclusion of the most studies is that Jews have a low crime rate. It is lower than that, right? It is lower than that of non-Jews taken as a whole. Lower than that of other religious groups. So they try to say you would think that the Jewish man got low crime rate more than blacks and Hispanics and every other race, right? And any other practice on religious group, right? You understand? So the Jewish man ain't doing nothing, they saying, right? That's what you would think. Jews have a low crime rate. It is lower than that of non-Jews taken as a whole, lower than that of other religious groups, and lower than a rate based simply on the Jewish proportion of the population, the expected rate. However, keyword, however, right? However, the Jewish crime rate tends to be higher than that of non-Jews. So the Jewish man is committing more crimes than a goddamn black man and the Spanish man. The Jewish man is committing more crimes than everybody, right? Let's read that again. And the lower than the rate based simply on the Jewish proportion of the population. Parentheses, the expected rate. However, the Jewish crime rate tends to be higher than that of non-Jews and other religious groups for white-collar offenses, that is, commercial or commercially related crimes such as fraud, fraudulent, bankruptcy, embezzlement, also where special laws have been enacted for religious groups. The general crime rate for Jews has tended to be high. The terms normal or general findings in this paper refer to findings such as these concerning criminology amongst Jews. Wow. The Jewish man is committing crimes out there. That's why you got Isupk Brooklyn to let you know that the Jewish man is committing crimes and he has a high rate of crimes. Do you understand this? Right? So let's go to some crimes now that the Jewish man is committing. You ready for this? It says 3 Orthodox Jewish rabbis convicted of conspiracies to kidnap Jewish husbands in order to force them to consent to religious divorces. That's insane. 3 Orthodox Jewish rabbis were convicted at trial today for conspiring to kidnap Jewish men in an effort to force them to give their wives religious divorces, referred to as Get U.S. Attorney Paul J. Fisherman announced, right? Crazy. Rabbis Mendel Epstein, 69, of Lakewood, New Jersey, Jay Goldstein, a.k.a. Yaakov, 60, of Brooklyn, It's always some Jewish men in Brooklyn, man. It's always some Jewish men in Brooklyn. That's why it's Isupk Brooklyn, right? New York and Benjamin Steimler, 39 of Brooklyn, 2 men of Brooklyn, right? New York, which each convicted on count 1 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Goldstein and Steimler were additionally convicted on count 5 of the indictment, attempted kidnapping. Epstein's son, David Epstein, aka Ari 40 of Lakewood, New Jersey, was acquitted on 3 counts. The jury deliberated 3 days following an 8-week trial before U.S. District Judge Federal L. Wolfson and Trenton Federal Court, right? According to documents filed in the case and the evidence at trial on December 1st, 2009 in Lakewood, an Orthodox Jewish man, Israel Markowitz, was assaulted, placed in a van, tied up, beaten, and shot with a stun gun. He was shot with a stun gun. They still make those? I haven't seen a stun gun since, what, 85? Until he agreed to give his wife a get. On October 16, 2010, Lakewood, another Orthodox Jewish man, Yisrael Beiskerman, was assaulted, tied up, and beaten until he agreed to give his wife a get. What the hell is a get? Right? On August 22nd, 2011, in Brooklyn, New York, another Orthodox Jewish man, Usher Shermowitz, and his roommate, Menachem Telebium, were assaulted, tied up, and beaten until Shermowitz agreed to give his wife a get. The word is G-E-T. What the hell is a get? Could somebody look that up? A get. It might be, we already know what get means, but it might be something under, some more. So type in what the underline of the original definition for get is. Type in the chat. You know what I'm saying? So we can understand what's going on, right? Based upon these incidents, the FBI began an undercover operation in August 2013 in which 2 FBI agents posed as a wife who was seeking a get from her recalcitrant husband and her brother who was trying to help her obtain the get. Over the next several weeks, the undercover agents, right, had multiplied recorded phone calls in person, meeting with defendant Mendel Epstein. In those meetings, Mendel Epstein arranged to have his team kidnap the husband at a warehouse in exchange for $60,000. Man, they kidnapping bros for $60,000. Man. On October 9th, 2013, well, hold on. A verb, a do, act, make, behavior, accomplish, manage, achieve, perform, trans, drive, conduct, push, move, impel, guide, govern. It must be a behavior, accomplish, manage, or something. Must be that, right? Thank you, Miss Jones. All right, let's get it. They arrived at the warehouse in 2 dark minivans shortly after 8 p.m. Some of the kidnapped team members put on masks and entered the warehouse office with the undercover agent posing as the brother. The remaining kidnappers walked around the outside with flashlights over the next 15 minutes. Members of the kidnap team went in and out of the warehouse office wearing disguises, including ski masks. Come on. These are professional. These guys are professionals out here. The white man, the devil the Bible speaks of, man. These guys are professionals, right? They discussed their plan for kidnapping and assaulting the husband, how they plan to grab her. Did I just say they're professionals? It said they discussed their plan, right? For kidnapping and assaulting the husband, how they plan to grab him, pull him down, tie him up, and take his phone. Members of the kidnap team brought with them to the warehouse a 30-foot nylon rope. They were prepared. A 30-foot nylon rope. You know what you could tie up with that? You could tie up goddamn nylon rope and blindfold, vodka, license plates. What? Vodka and license plates? What's going on there? Blindfold, vodka, license plates. They had switched out and items used to ceremonially record the get. At 8:23 p.m., law enforcement moved into the warehouse office and arrested 8 men, including Goldstein and Stemler. Mendel Epstein was arrested at his Brooklyn home the same night, right? The count of the conspiracies to commit kidnapping carries a maximum potential penalty of life in prison and a $250,000 fine, or twice the gross gain or loss from the offense. The count of attempt to commit kidnapping carries a maximum potential penalty of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, or twice the gross gain or loss from the offense. Sentencing is scheduled for July 15. 9 other individuals previously entered guilty pleas in connection with the conspiracy, right? U.S. Attorney Fisherman credits special agents of the FBI under the direction of Special Agent in charge Richard M. Frankel and Newark and the Lakewood Police for investigating, leading to today's verdicts. The government is represented by the Assistant U.S. Attorney R. Joseph Gripko and Sarah M. Wolf of the U.S. Attorney Office in Trenton. Wow. So you got the Jewish community kidnapping their own people. And I don't know, it says manage transaction, conduct, push, move, impel, guide, govern. I still don't understand what the get is with all these words, right? Because it sounded like the get means, I guess, the contract that they signed. That's what I think the get is. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, right, Ms. Jones? What the hell is the get? We got the definition, and we still don't know what the get is. Yo, we got the definition of get and still don't know what the get is. I might have to show this, right, to General Muhammad and get some understanding what the get is, right? Shalom, shalom. Pagabawa, shalom, right? So that was Jewish men kidnapping their own people to get the get. They beating them up. Got 30-inch ropes, nylon ropes, vodka, whips and chains. You know what I'm saying? Just to kidnap people for the get, I guess the money. I guess that's what it is. That's what I'm thinking. It's the money. But come on, let's go to some more crimes, man. Right? And this is going to be a short class, right? This is from The Guardian, right? They know you're getting in trouble. That's the get, right? Crazy. All right, it says silence and self-rule, Brooklyn Orthodox child abuse cover up. They getting busy in Brooklyn with these damn crimes. The Jewish man has so much pedophilia crimes, it's insane, man. Brooklyn ultra-Orthodox rabbi claims they are cooperating with authorities over child sex abuse, but victims say they are being persecuted and that the DA is doing little to help, right? When Mordechai discovered his mentally disabled child was being molested. They molesting mentally disabled children. When being molested, he reported the crime to the police. A local man was arrested and charged with the repeated raping the boy in the synagogue ritual bath. What? In a ritual bath? When news of the arrest got back to the Brooklyn community, the neighbors launched a hate campaign, but the object of their anger wasn't the alleged perpetrator, Mayor Daskowitz. Why they always got some Daskowitz, like wits at the end of their last names, right? Crazy. It was the abused boy's father. So the father is abusing the own son. For the last 2 years, Mordechai says he's been hounded by his community. The minute this guy got arrested, I started a new life, a life of hell, terror, threat, you name it. There were bogus calls to the fire department resulting in unwelcome late night visits, anonymous death threats, banishments from synagogue, even a plot to derail his move to a new apartment. I lost my friends. I lost my family. Nobody in Williamsburg, down the block, right, can talk to me. Nobody means nobody. Nobody means nobody. We are so angry, so broken. Mordechai persecution is part of the widespread cover-up of child sexual abuse amongst Brooklyn's ultra-Orthodox Jews, with echoes of the Catholic priests. So the Jewish man and the Catholic priests are getting down. Ain't this some mother? What? So the Catholic priests are down with the Jewish community on raping children? We already know the Catholics already are stronghold in pedophilia. Now they with the Jewish man? This is insane, right? Good night, right? Which echoes the Catholic priest scandal. For decades of rabbis have hushed up child sex crimes and fomented a culture in which victims are further victimized and abusers protected. After the first claims of the cover-up surfaced in the mid-2000s, the rabbi's stance was outright denial. Not only that crimes were being concealed, but of the very existence of ultra-Orthodox child molesters. In the years since, victims, advocates, and whistleblower blogs have forced open the issue. Today, the religious leadership claims to cooperate with law enforcement. The Brooklyn District Attorney, Charles Haynes, long vilified by advocates for his inaction, now cares to be seen to be persecuting, though how enthusiastically is in dispute, and attitudes within the community has shifted marginally, right? So now you got like district attorneys that was not saying nothing, now they trying to say something, you know? Of course, if you're in the political field, You scared to go against the Jewish man. Point blank, period. Dudes are scared to go against the Jewish man. Word. But the essence of the problem has changed little. Brooklyn ultra-Orthodox enclaves, right, remain close-knit and insular, suspicious of secular authority and contemptuous of the criminal justice system. Religious leaders command strict authority inside their communities and have the external political power to demand a degree of self-rule, ideal conditions for a cover-up. So they are covering up these crimes, man. That's why you ain't hearing these crimes on channel 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, none of these channels. Because they covering these crimes up, man. But they'll let you know that a black nigga stole an apple from the fruit market. They'll let you know that. Right? Lawyer and advocate Michael Lesher has campaigned for years to break the rabbi's stronghold and get abusers into court. There is a misapprehensive, he says, that every time a child sex crime reaches the media, it disgraces the community, right? So they saying if it do reach, it disgraces the community. That's why it be cover-ups, because they try not to have the Jewish man, the media, look evil, right? But you know the scripture says they are the synagogues of Satan. So God already said they evil. This is crazy, man. Right? In reality, it gets reported, but only as a part of the generally muck and mire of grease blotting journalism. But when cases are covered up, that really is a scandal. That is a crime of different order. That's why you got Isupk Brooklyn, because this ain't no scandal. We trying to let you know that the Jewish man is the synagogue of Satan. He's the top evil man in the world. Right? The blood of all those victims is on their hands. Unlike Mordechai, few victims inside the community would tell their stories publicly. But in recent years, a number of adult survivors now living outside the religion and no longer bound by its taboos has spoken out, right? So, like, I used to be in programs and stuff, and now I know why you got like Jewish people that like they don't even claim, they just trying to be a regular white person now. They don't wear babushka hat. They don't wear nothing. They be wearing jeans and sneakers, trying to act black. You know what I'm saying? Joe Engelman says he was molested at the age of 8 by his teacher, Rabbi Avram Reshaman. 4 years ago. These names are bugged, man. 4 years ago, he sued his former school after it failed to dismiss Reshaman Engelman. By then, in his early 20s, he'd gone to school to report his abuser and seek redress. The religious leadership concluded that Reshaman was guilty and did nothing. The suit said Reshaman is still teaching there today. Damn. So the boy comes back and say, yo, he been raping me, whatever. And the dude is still teaching. That would never happen for a black man. Never happened for a black man. You see this? The boy came back and said, yo, this man has raped me for many years, and he's still a teacher. Do you understand what's going on? This is insane, man. Engelman's civil suit was dismissed on statute of limitation grounds. Loser Twerksky, 26, was abused for 3 years from the age of 9 by his private tutor. It only ended when David Grenfell whose father was a respected member of the community, was discovered abusing another boy in ritual bath at mikvah. I guess ritual bath, I guess that's it's insane, right? Grenfell continued teaching until his arrest in 2009 on fresh molestation charges in January. The case against him collapsed because the victim family would not cooperate. The DA spokesman said both men say that when they were growing up, Engelman and Wingberg, down the block from me, Tversky and Borough Park, that's the other side, right? The more rampant child molesters were well known to their group of friends. During research for this article, I heard numerous stories like Tversky and Engelman through, right, of the cover were always the same. Many were relayed secondhand. The victims themselves refused to speak. There was the boy molested by his teacher, a rabbi. When his mother found out, the teacher was temporarily, right, suspended, only be appointed principal a few years later. So this person was raping and abusing children, and then he was appointed to be a principal later. Did I read that right? Let's read it again. There was the boy molested by his teacher, a rabbi. When his mother found out, the teacher was temporarily suspended, only to be appointed. He was suspended. So he got suspended for the crime, came back and became a principal. You can't make this up, man. And you can't steal an apple from the fruit stand, black man, Spanish man, without the media disgracing you. You steal a watermelon, right? You are going to be the evilest black and Hispanic nigga in the news. You steal a watermelon, right? But in the Jewish community, you could rape children, get suspended, and then become a principal. This is insane, man. Let's read it again. We're going to stop on the top of this paragraph. During research for this article, I heard numerous stories like Tversky and Engelman's. Through the details varied, that the dynamics of the cover-up were also the same. Many were relayed secondhand. The victims themselves refused to speak. There was the boy molested by his teacher, a rabbi. When his mother found out, the teacher was temporarily suspended, only to be appointed principal a few years later. Crazy. Good night. There was the childhood friend condemned for accusing a respected family man who later committed suicide. The abuser father who pleaded with the rabbi to hush up the crime, which they did, now works with children. And just a few months ago, a 14-year-old boy sent by his rabbi to apologize to his molester for seducing him. What? As consistent as the tales of cover-up are those of community intimidations where victims are branded a moser, an informer, included from school, spat on the synagogue. These families threatened and harassed by supporters of accused. On the occasion, the religious leaders have taken action. They have turned to their shadow justice system. The religious courts now, as the Beit Din, but lacking investigative powers, forensic expertise, or means of enforcement, the Beit Din are wholly ineffectual in trying molesters. At other times, they shuffle offenders off for treatment, typically to unlicensed therapists. Crazy, right? My story is one of hundreds. They cover up, said one victim who asked to remain anonymous for fear of reprisals. The blood of all those victims is on their hands. Of all the horror stories, the most notorious involved Rabbi Yehuda Koko, for several decades, a teacher at the Yeshiva Torah Temanim in Brooklyn and consuming camp counselor. In 2006, two adult men publicly accused Koko of molesting them as children, one in the late 1960s, another in the mid-1980s, in a civil suit when the men claimed that rabbis first learned Koko was a serial molester back in the 80s. At the time, a bid then was confirmed, but Koko enjoyed the protection of his school principal, Rabbi Lipa Marklius, whose intimidation of witnessing and concealment of information made victims drop their claims. Wow. The complaint said the religious court proceedings came to nothing. The men took their story to the mainstream media, and revelations shook the ultra-Orthodox community. The civil suit was thrown out on statute of limitation grounds, but during the publicity, two of Koko's current students, boy aged 8 and 9, revealed that they too had been abused. So this man Koko been raping niggas since the 60s and the 80s. And now, in this time, two boys 8 years old and 9 years old come out that they being raped. This is insane, man. Why is that protest on Eastern Parkway and everywhere that the Jewish man lays his head? Why nobody ain't protesting that? Why nobody ain't marching on that to stop the damn community, the Jewish community, of raping children? Can we get 1 million black people or let's get 1 million white people? Why are the white people not saying anything? Insane. Ben-Hurst, a victim support group, Survivors for Justice, was instrumental in getting their cases to court. The two kids were prepared to take the stand. The family were supportive. Other victims ranging in age from their 20s to the mid-50s, including a lawyer, was prepared to testify that Koko had molested them as children. There was solid evidence he'd been molesting boys for decades. He'd been molesting children for decades, and he's still a goddamn teacher. We giving the DA well over a dozen names of people willing to cooperate. It was a rock solid case. But instead of putting Koko on trial, the DA gave him a deal. Koko pleaded guilty to misdemeanor child endangerment, not a sex crime, was given. 3-year probation, was not required to register as a sex offender. So he been raping kids since the 50s, and he's not, and they don't got him as a sex offender. And you got black men and Hispanic men that go to jail for rape accusations that never even happened, and they gotta go in as a sex offender. This is crazy, man. And return to life as a normal in Borough Park. The DA said the family refused to let their children testify. Ben-Hurst said that untrue. He said the parents were presented with a done deal when the father of one of the boys signed a letter agreeing to plead. he sent it back with another written in his own words. My son was ready to go to trial, and we feel he would have done an excellent job. And I'm sorry to hear that Yehuda Coco will not proceed further. I feel justice was not served, he wrote. He signed off. I would end by saying I understand what the district attorney wants from me, and I would sign the letter. Hertz and the other advocates were incensed. We don't know the backstory. We think the DA was under great pressure from the community. He buckled, Hertz said. The Coco case is no aberration, says lawyers Michael Lesher. For further evidence, right? He points to the failed extradition of Rabbi Avraham Mondowitz, right? Another cause celebrity, Mondowitz was an unqualified psychologist who used his practice to gain access to vulnerable children. He also had powerful friends within his sect who protected him for years. It was only after Mondowitz abused a number of non-Orthodox children that the police were called in. In 1984, on the eve of his arrest, Mondowitz fled the country, turning up in Israel a few months later. It's widely believed he received a tip-off. Damn, like I said, all them dudes at the Wailing Wall, those niggas are pedophiles. That's why they is fleeing to Israel. Those white men that you see them banging their heads on the wall, those niggas are raping children. Because all child molesters flee to Israel. Crazy. At the time, Israel didn't recognize sodomy since renamed criminal sexual act as an extraditable offense, and Mondowitz was beyond reach. But in 1988, the law was changed, raising the possibility of bringing Mondowitz back to Brooklyn. Damn right. Not long after Hines came into office in 1990, however, he abandoned the extradition effort in January 2007, and a new extradition treaty was drawn up that reflected the change of Israeli law, and that Autumn Haynes did file a fresh request, but only after months of campaigning by advocates, when Israel's Supreme Court ultimately refused the request. It said America had left it too long. The man was indicted on 14 charges, including 5 counts of sodomy. And the DA, right? And the DA says, we don't want him. That is how strong the Orthodox influence can be, Lesher said. Lesher is trying to obtain the DA files on Mondowitz, 2 boxes of them. Through the Freedom of Information, the DA is fighting him. At the latest hearing in February, the DA's office argued the case was ongoing and the contents of the files remain sensitive. But in a radio interview a few weeks before, right, when asked about getting Mondowitz back, Hines replied, that's finished. Mondowitz, meanwhile, is still living freely in Israel. What can we say? They just said, forget it. He's out here raping children. So since he's in Israel, forget him. But I know there are black people that committed crimes and they try to flee somewhere, and the justice system went to them goddamn places and got them. You know how many black niggas flee to Puerto Rico, or Hispanic niggas flee back to Santo Domingo, whatever? Some niggas even try to go to Africa. And the justice system went and got their ass. Salakia. You know what I'm saying? But the Jewish man go to Israel. Oh, he's in Israel. Leave him alone. Defenders of the DA says he's hamstrung by his lack of access to the community. Child sex crimes are hard enough to prosecute at the best of times. Often a victim comes forward only years later with scant evidence and no witnesses. Even when the crime is current, you know how many times black men are being lied upon, saying the woman saying this man raped me, and a black and Hispanic man, Mexican man, they be in jail for 30 years. And after the 30th year, the 31st year in prison, you find out that the Mexican or his Puerto Rican man or the black man, they even raped the woman. Crazy, right? Often the victim comes forward only years later with scant evidence and no witnesses. Even when the crime is current, a child's word is pitted against an adult's word is pitted against an adult's frequently, one in a position of power and authority. It is no surprise few reach the courts of those that do. The majority in plea deals with a community suspicious of law enforcement, where witnesses drop out under community pressure and leaders impede investigators. The problem are particularly acute, right? Hold on. Woo. This is crazy. Hold on for a minute. With all respect, rabbis should stop interfering with the process. Agadah Israel of America, an umbrella organization for Brooklyn's many Orthodox factions, embraces the various Hasidic sects with a few exceptions, notable Satmar and the other non-Hasidic groups, also pronounced on Jewish law as interpreted by its Council of Torah. Sages as such, it dictates to its substantial membership how to live their lives. For the last few months has publicized the sages' legal ruling on reporting child sex abuse. An ultra-Orthodox Jew who suspects a child and being molested must first consult with a senior rabbi before going to the authorities. What? So you go to the rabbis and don't go to the authorities. Okay. That's how the cases are getting covered up. Because the top Jewish man, the authority in the Jewish community, he don't want his community to look bugged out. So when you tell him, it's undercover now. You understand? The rabbi who must be knowledgeable about both Jewish law and child abuse will decide if the suspicion passed a threshold known as ragalium in la davar, that's Yiddish, right? Or reason to believe. Only then can the matter be referred on. If you want to know that word, is RAGLAYIMLA''DAVAR, right? That's some Yiddish words right there, right? A person can be destroyed if allegations which are baseless are raised against him, says Rabbi David Zubel, executive vice president. By way of explanation, Zubel says he is aware some rabbis still conceal allegations, but insists the large majority are now fully engaged with law enforcement, aim to reconcile to the extent possible of the obligations of secular law with the dictates of Jewish halachic law. All the rule does, Zabel says, is inject into process an extra lawyer. I don't see that as a real deviation from the secular law. In New York State, however, social workers, teachers, and members of other defined professionals, although not clergy, are mandated reporters. They are required by law to report suspicious of child abuse immediately and before consulting a supervisor, or for that matter, a rabbi, in response to a query about academic position. The Office of Children and Family Services said that if a person meets the standards for a mandated reporter, there is no legal authority for the screening of the potential reports. If an Orthodox teacher or social worker were to follow the sage's ruling, they would be breaking the law. The rabbis are wonderful spiritual leaders. You hear this? The rabbis are wonderful spiritual leaders. How are they wonderful spiritual leaders when they raping? How are they wonderful spiritual leaders when they are raping? And they should be doing what they do best. Spiritual guidance, says Mark Meyer Appeal, who group Voices of Justice gives emotional support to victims and their families, right? Support to the victims and their families, but they don't have the experience to deal with issues of the child abuse. With all respect, they should stop interfering with the process, right? So the Jewish man is getting away with murder, actually rape. He's getting away with raping. He's fleeing to Israel, right? And since he's in Israel, they just stopped the investigations. It just stops because he's in the so-called Holy Land, right? So we're going to go here real quick. Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. There's only one race of people that say they are Jews and worship in the synagogue. So it's talking about those people. Shalom. We are the Isupk, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out on 1 West Harlem, New York, right? 125th Street. We are now under Commandant General Yohana, right? We've been on these streets since 1969, teaching our people that we are the true Jews of the Bible. We are not no goddamn Christians. We ain't Muslims. We are the true Jews of the Bible. Wake up, Black and Hispanic America, man. We are the true Jews of the Bible, right? Do I gotta say it one more time? Wake up, Black America, Hispanic America. We are the true Jews of the Bible. Shalom.